is Miss Lizzie. I don't ever smoke the dizzy, but we can always share some ditsies. It's just a cup in time. This song doesn't have to run. Life's all of us, not every moment we can be feeling fine. I wanna share a moment, just a second if you will, maybe even a cup of thrill. We could share this performance. It's tea time, come sit with me.
Well, welcome guys, Miss Liz in the house, and I have a country boy in the house tonight. We have Adam Gaffney in the house, and we're going to share his album and talk about his tea and all that good stuff. And tonight's tea is a little interesting because tonight's tea is everywhere and nowhere. Don't let the truth get in the way of a good song, and only you know what's best for you. That is the tea that we are serving in the house tonight with Adam. But before we get started, you guys know how Miss Liz rolls. Get over to all those platforms: Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Lemonade, Clapper, all those good platforms. Give those a like, follow, and subscribe. And check out the bios and the description areas for all of my guests, because they do have all that information. And give those a like, follow, and subscribe as well. Jump over to the podcast apps: Podbean, iHeartRadio, Listen Notes, Spotify, and all the ones I haven't mentioned. Miss Liz is on those ones too, so check those out. Then jump over to babyboomers.org. If you're looking to be featured on different podcasts and Miss Liz is not bringing you the flavor that you're looking for, you can check out. There's over 50 different podcasts that are always looking for guests as well, and you can get featured on there as well. Miss Liz has been partnered with them for about 3 years, and it's an incredible platform. You can get podcasts out there, you can get radio, you can get news, you can get all of that good stuff for all the baby boomers out there. So let's get started with disclaimer and then a beautiful intro, and then we're going to get Adam in here and we're going to spill some tea and have some fun tonight. And maybe I got a couple surprises for all you listeners out there if you pay attention and you stay the whole show. Disclaimer for Miss Liz's Tea Time live show. Miss Liz's Tea Time is a global platform dedicating to sharing real life stories, diverse perspectives, and meaningful conversations that inspire awareness, healing, and connection. I'm Miss Liz is going live using StreamYard. Before leaving a comment during the live broadcast, please grant StreamYard permission to display your name at StreamYard.com. Please be advised that all the content brought forward during any Tea Time show is presented in good faith. However, discussions may include opinions, beliefs, and perspectives that do not necessarily represent the views of Miss Liz or the Tea Time platform. Information shared by guests is based on their own experiences and is perceived to be accurate at the given time of airing. All guests, viewers, and participants are responsible for using their own good judgment when considering any action or decision that may relate to these discussions. Some episodes may cover sensitive topics, including but not limited to trauma, abuse, grief, mental health, and other emotionally triggering subjects. Listeners' and viewers' discretion is strongly advised. Tea Time with Miss Liz is an open discussion forum designed to offer insight, inspire awareness, and create connection. It is not a substitute for professional, medical, legal, or therapeutical advice. If you require professional support, please seek assistance from qualified professionals or trusted resources in your area. If you have any questions regarding this disclaimer or the content of the discussion, you are welcome to contact me, aka Miss Liz, directly at bookingmissliz@gmail.com or visit my link tree at Miss Liz's Tea Time. By choosing to participate in, comment on, or view these live shows, you acknowledge and accept this disclaimer. Your participation is entirely voluntary. I, Miss Liz, welcomes you to join the conversation with an open heart, and if at any time you feel this platform is not right for you, I respect your wishes and decision and welcome you back whenever you are ready. Tea Time with Miss Liz is serving truth and awareness one cup at a time. Well, welcome to Tea Time with Miss Liz, where conversations remind us that some of life's hardest chapters can become foundations for healing, purpose, and powerful storytelling. Today's guest brings honesty, resilience, music, and lived experience to the Tea Time table. Please join me in welcoming Adam Gaffney, a native veteran, singer, songwriter, storyteller, and author whose journeys through addictions, loss, recovery, and self-discovery has inspired both his music and his message. Adam's work is rooted in truth. Through songwriting and storytelling, he shares the reality of struggles, heartbreak, redemption, and the courage it takes to rebuild a life when everything feels broken. His book and musical journey, Product of Another Sad Song, reflects the lessons learned through adversity and the understanding that our lowest moments do not define our future. Today's conversation is about more than music. It is about resilience. It is about recovery. It is about finding your voice after life has tried to silence it. Today's tea time will explore addiction and recovery, mental health and resilience, music as healing and self expression, life after loss and adversity, finding purpose through storytelling. Adam reminds us that every scar carries a story, and every story has a potential to help someone else feel less alone. So grab your cup and join us for a powerful conversation filled with honesty, hope, healing, and real life tea, truth, experience, and awareness. So let me get Adam in here and let's spill some tea together. Welcome, Adam.
Hi, how's it going?
It's going
Hello
good.
again.
I just seen you like 2 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Long time no see, right?
Yep.
So, Adam, tell us a little bit about your story, who you were as a little guy and who you are as an older man now.
I'm from a really small town in Illinois called Litchfield. It's about 5,000 people there. It's like a farm town. Yeah, I grew up, I don't know. I guess for there it was a pretty normal looking childhood, it's not much going on in that town, not much art going on. But there was St. Louis is about an hour away. And as I got older, I ended up living in St. Louis I actually lived there the last 10 or 12 years. And I just recently moved to Arizona. My girlfriend and I, we bought some property down here. So we we live down here. Basically the Mexico is my backyard. So we're pretty far away from anybody, which is kind of nice now.
So, Adam, as a little guy, were you always into music?
Yeah, I always loved music growing up, and I actually originally started playing drums when I was about 10 years old. That was my first instrument, and my mom taught me how to play when I was young.
So, were you brought up on the classic country or folks, blues, rocks? What were you raised up on?
I was raised pretty much on whatever music my dad listened to, and then which was like classic rock. And I actually didn't even get into country music until I was in my 20s. I was always around it, but I was always kind of like, you know, my dad hated it, so I thought I was supposed to hate it too. So naturally, I did that. And then as I got older, I was like, wait a minute, this is pretty good stuff. And I started really getting into it. And it was like right about I was like 22, 23 before I started getting into country music. So I had a lot to catch up on.
So, who were your biggest influencers?
Probably my number one is Neil Young. I
Hmm.
don't actually listen to a lot of as much country music as people probably think I do. I'm a big Neil Young fan. That's about as the most country music I listen to. I love George Jones. I love, of course, I love Willie Nelson, but I'm a big Bob Dylan, Neil Young fan. I love that era of like the beginning of like Americana music, where it's like a blend of rock and roll and country music.
Right? They twang together, like they joined together.
Yeah,
Like Neil Young had some really good songs, and it almost sounded like country vibe, but had like a little spice to it, right? Kind of.
yeah, totally. Which, yeah, you're in Canada, so I guess is everyone required to be a Neil Young fan?
Well, you know what? I love Neil Young, and I'm going to give my age away again to my listeners, but I grew up with the classic country and the classic folks music and rock and even today my kids will be like, "Mom, you listen to heavy metal music?" I was like, "I'm in the mood for just different
Yeah,
sometimes."
totally. I totally get that.
Just because I listen to mostly country doesn't mean that I'm only just a country girl there.
Right. Yeah, I love country, but I also love a lot of weird stuff too. Like I love all kinds of music. Um, yeah, it just
You,
depends.
Adam, for you, is it the lyrics or is it the music?
I think I think at first listen I'm a music person. And then as I listen to the song more, I become like into the lyrics. It takes me a while. Like there's like some songs that I've been covering for years that I'm like, I don't even know if I didn't like read it, I probably wouldn't even remember what the words were.
How does an artist remember all those songs and all those lyrics? That's one thing I've always wondered.
I think I will say the music that from a writing perspective, I remember a lot of the songs I write because I'm playing them all the time. But if I'm playing covers, I have a hard time remembering the lyrics because I play a lot of bar gigs, and a lot of times I not a lot of times anymore, but over the years I've done a lot of cover gigs, so I had to play like 3 or 4 hours of cover songs. I don't know how many people are can just memorize that amount of music that isn't theirs. Um, but yeah, I have a handful of songs that I have memorized, and then I mostly have my songs memorized, which even like a song I've written 10 years ago, I will probably forget what the words were. But once I do it again, I'll have it in my mind.
I always wondered if the music, like the sound, the harmony is what brings the words out of artists. They get the, oh, that's the line, that's the line, you know, which,
Totally, 100%. Or like if I'm playing with my band and I'm like, man, I forgot what's the first line, and somebody will yell and shout it to me, and I'm like, okay, now I know all the words of the song. It just took like the first three words in my head.
well, we have some comments on that coming into the studio, and I'd like to get them out to you. From Jonathan, love how Miss Liz brings inspiring guests with real life stories. Can't wait for this conversation. Thank you, Jonathan, for tuning in. We have a question here from Bob. Has anyone else already listened to Product of Another Sad Song? Which track stood out to you the most? For all the listeners, I'm guessing Bob is asking all of the listeners to send in their favorite track. But for you, Adam, what was the track that stood out to you the most?
Um, that's a tough one, I think. This was probably the last song of the record. That was the song that was an afterthought of the album that had been finished already. And my mom passed away while we were recording this record, and she was sick the whole time we were recording. And so I had written all these songs in the 2 years of this record, being made. So I really wanted that last song on the record, and we kind of added it after everything was finished. And I was like, well, let me just go in and sit on the piano and we'll just do it. So that's kind of the one that stands out the most to me. Maybe it's because like it's the newest song on the record, but I think it's just like the most, I don't know, personal of all of them, even though they're all pretty personal. But
So let's what inspired you for the Product of Another Sad Song? Because I like the title, Another Sad Song. Because
that
I've
was,
listened to a couple of the songs, and I like a couple of them. There's some that I'm just like, wonder what kind of mood he was in when he did this one.
yeah, it depends on, what the rating is on, how much I can share. But yeah, I mean, the Product of Another Sad Song is the title track. That it was the name of a song before we named the record. I don't even know if we had a working title or anything. I think it was kind of like, I'm like, hey, my buddy Jorge who recorded this, and I said, hey, I got like 10 songs. Let's just record them, see what happens. And then that turned into the 17 track record. That Product of Another Sad Song just kind of became like the flagship of the record. And it ended up being, we just titled it after that. I always thought that was cool. Like back in the day, Bad Company came out with a record, Bad Company, with the single Bad Company. I always thought that was cool. Like naming the record after like the big song. So that's just kind of what we did.
So how did you get 17 tracks?
Well, it started out at like 12, I think. I had finished Lay Me Down during the recording process. So that song was like halfway finished when we started. And then by the time we got about 3/4 of the way through the record, I said, hey, let's throw this one on. So that song and Pinch and The Thunder, those two songs were new to my band when we recorded. So we hadn't really played those live very much. Um, And so at that point, um, that was when my mom passed away. And so I was like, hey man, I want to add this. A couple months go by and I was like, I want to add this final track. But then I thought, well, that's going to be weird if maybe, I don't know, I was in my head, I was like, is it going to be weird if I just have this one piano tune at the end, and then I was like, well, what if I segue some of like my writing transitions with poems that I've written or whatever. And I honestly kind of had an idea of Fred Friction going in there, and I just told him, I said, I just want you to talk, because like he's one of these guys that just everything he says is calculated. So I kind of told him to go in there and just be you, and I think he got a little nervous, and then so I was like, well, I tell you what, maybe read these poems. And so he read those poems. Then he had two poems of his own, and those became the four segue tracks on the record. And then with the song I wrote for my mom at the end, it ended up being a 17-track record.
How did losing your mother shape this album? You shared a little bit about it, but how did it shape the album coming together?
I think it was kind of weird. I it was very like sudden that she passed. And so like I was really spearheading this record for a year, and then she became sick, and then it kind of shifted everything, and so there was about 6 months where I really just didn't have time to record at all. And when I went back, it was kind of hard to do some of those songs, and you're in the studio listening to these songs like hundreds and hundreds of times over and over again, and so it was just like a little bit exhausting. But it was kind of, I was glad that I was doing it with my friends, because if I was just going into like the studio and getting like session players that really didn't have any attachment to me personally, I think it would have been a different album altogether. I think the fact that it was my close friends, my band doing it, it really shaped the album, because I knew they could feel like, I know they felt what I was going through. And you can hear that when I listen to some of these songs. We did the vocal tracks, and some of my guitar licks were after she passed away, and I can really, feel that coming out when I hear my vocals in some of those songs. So
Well,
I don't think it would be the record it is, if I, wasn't channeling some of that.
well, and on this album, you also shared your sobriety and that as well through the lyrics, a couple of songs, right? You kind of
Yeah.
get right into it, and you also share a little bit about mental illness, and like I today is your floor, so you can share whatever you like. You can talk in any language you want to talk. It's
Uh-oh.
your time. It's your time to shine, Adam. And
All
it's your.
right.
So if you want to release something or you want to share something, you're more than welcome to do that with my listeners.
Okay, I appreciate that.
So we do have a question about Darling. I'm going to put the question up, and it comes in from Prophet Power. Adam, what inspired you to write Darling as such a joyful song alongside an emotional album?
I wrote that song for my partner Christy. We got together shortly after I got sober, and but we had known each other for years prior to that. And I had written that song for her, and I love the song, but it is a very simple song, and it was just kind of tongue in cheek, and it was something like, um, our friends loved it when I would play it, because we used to work at this bar in St. Louis together, and I would play there, and I'd play the song, and it was really fun. And so I thought, hey, I'm gonna put that song on the record. But it makes sense because this record is a collection of songs over 10 years of just like a life experience, and I thought that would be a really good opener, because it's maybe my sixth sense of humor of being like, hey, here's a really catchy love song to like butter you up for what's coming next, So that was
I'm
kind
gonna
of like
butter you up,
what I
darling.
was thinking with it. Yeah, like they're gonna have no idea what's gonna happen.
I love the way you just said that, Adam. Like, we're going to butter you up. So we do have the permission from Adam to share this amazing song, Darling. So I'm going to pull it up and let you guys listen to his song. And then we're going to get back into talking with Adam. So Miss Liz and Adam are just going to slide to the side and we're going to play the song that Prophet Power wanted to know about. So let you guys all enjoy this and just sit back and enjoy.
Darling, won't you take my hand and we'll light this fire, stoke up the flames until it can't go higher. There's a big old road just for you and me. If you wouldn't mind a little company, maybe I'll do all the talking, you bet I'll do all the walking. Hell, I'd even be crawling to you. Well, now these hands, they do more than striving, are hugging and kissing and loving. I might even stop my cussing for you. And darling, won't you take my hand and we'll light this fire. We'll stoke up the flames, oh, until they can't go higher. There's a big old road just for you and me. If you wouldn't mind a little company. Ever since I quit drinking and stinking, I've been thinking a lot about thinking. I like to spend my days wrinkling away with you. Well, now I may never be a big star, but I wanna be big in your heart. I'll even name my favorite guitar after you. So darling, won't you take my hand and light this fire? We'll stoke up the flames, oh, until I can't go higher. There's a big old road just for you and me. If you wouldn't mind a little company, so darling, won't you take my hand and we'll light this fire. We'll stoke up the flames until they can't go higher. There's a big old road just for you and me. If you wouldn't mind a little company, I said if you wouldn't mind a little company.
And there we go. We have Darlin'. So I got a couple of things from that song there, Adam. I got some big rug, some company, some fire, some bacon, and a big star. That's what I got from that. So tell us, tell us a little bit about the bacon first, because I'm a bacon girl. And then
I don't think I said bacon in there.
You didn't say bacon. I heard bacon. I must be hungry.
But I should have. I should have said bacon in there.
Well, I really want to thank you for allowing me to play that for my listeners out there.
Yeah,
Tell me
absolutely.
what you guys thought of that song. Like, I like the beat of it. I like the twang. Do you play a lot of that country electric guitar in your music?
Yeah, there it is, but we're a little bit heavier than the record. I think going in the studio, we got to kind of take our like rock and roll band and basically like, let's make this a little more chill, make it we're a country band, and we just turn everything up way too loud. So on the album we were like, we should probably make this like pretty, tone it down a little bit. So there was definitely a lot of twang and a lot of distortion in the live show, which is really fun. And I always love that with bands, when it's like, I love hearing a studio cut and then going to see them live, and then they have this like real big sound. It's always cool, I think.
Well, Adam, we have a question here from Paula, and it is, how long did it take the complete product of Another Sad Song from start to finish?
It took us close to 2 years. I think we started it July or August of 24 and ended on Christmas Eve of 25. So yeah, I guess about a year and a half.
Then we have a question here from your Mola. I'm not sure how. Was there one song on the album that was the hardest emotionally to write?
I think probably the last song of the record. There were some difficult ones in there, but that one was definitely, and that was the freshest one. So that's probably the one I'm gonna relate to the most at the moment.
So, Adam, what role has sobriety played in your music and life today?
It's definitely changed my songwriting. And I've always noticed that in some songwriters that I look up to, where you can almost see the shift, like BJ Barham of American Aquarium would talk about Jason Isbell and say, like, when Jason got sober, he cut all the fat off his songs. And I kind of see that now that I don't drink anymore, and writing, as being sober and writing, it's not just like, oh, I'm gonna slap something together that sounds cool. It's like, how do I make this? How do I get this message across without being, too direct? And it makes me think a little more. And I think that goes for a lot of things I do in my life now, where it's less. I just enjoy other things.
So, Adam, how did your Navy experience influence your perspective as a songwriter?
I don't know. I think I definitely wrote a little bit when I was in the Navy, but I don't know that it was kind of like, I feel like the Navy was my life on pause. And then I got out, and then like I was like, oh, well, I'm not doing that again. I'm gonna go do stuff that I want to do. And that was kind of like the moment for me that I realized that I should pursue uh, music. That it was actually a superior of mine in the Navy. And there's a story I did on I can't remember. It was like a write up I got, and they asked this question, a similar question, and this guy who's still a friend of mine, the Navy did this thing. Well, they do it like every 3 years. They basically, all these people that these military members that have been in for like a certain amount of time and don't quite have higher tenure or something, they come up with some new program and they're like, all right, we're going to release a bunch of these people, severance checks, whatever. And they just say, see you later. Well, that happened to this guy I knew. It happened to a lot of people I knew, but it happened to this one guy in particular I was closer to. and he was like all about the Navy. He'd been in like 15 years, was going to retire in 5. And then he got ERB'd, and then like his whole perspective changed. And he was, he just set me down one day. I don't, it's not like we'd ever really had many personal conversations. Like I've never heard this guy open up before. And he started talking about music, and he was asking, because I don't know how we got on the topic of it, but we were, and I was like, yeah, man, I'd really like to play music. And he's like, man, you should just get out and do it. And that's exactly what I did. And he just ordered 2 T-shirts like a month ago. So we still talk now, and we chit chat every once in a while. And he's still in Washington, which is a ways for me. But anytime I'm up there, I always try and link up with him again. But
So,
yeah, that was kind of how it pushed me to do it.
so did you use your time in the Navy to release and like express through songwriting? Like, was that your way of storytelling? Was through songwriting?
I think so. I think that was, I kept a diary when I was on deployments, and I don't look back at it that much, but every once in a while I do. And, I find these little poems or something I wrote down, or songs. And at the time though, you're talking like 2010, 2011, 12, 13, whatever. It was a different time. Like when I came in, Don't Ask, Don't Tell finally got repealed. And it was like, there's this like macho masculine thing, which I'm sure it's still in there now, but guys didn't like write poems in the military. It was like, it was just, and so it was just something I did kind of and kept to myself. And then, but I didn't realize what I was doing until later, but I was like kind of honing my craft. And they say your first 100 songs are, your throwaways. So I was kind of getting those out of the way. And that's kind of how I look at it. I've never used any of those songs really, but I've used like pieces of those songs in songs that I've written now. But I think that for me was just kind of learning how to write and keeping my mind off, being in the Persian Gulf for 8 months. So it was just something to get away.
Because a lot of people, they use storytelling through different aspects, right? Through art, through songwriting, through music, through dance. Did you find that you writing lyrics helped to get over certain traumas in life?
I definitely think so. Yeah, and that's kind of, I think that's what's driven me to write the way I write now. Is it's a therapeutic thing for me, more so than it is like filling a dance floor. I don't. If I write like "Darling," like it's funny because it's at the beginning of the record, but it's like one of those songs where, it took me 10 minutes to write it, but "Product of Another Sad Song" took me like 10 months to write it. And so, yeah, I definitely run into hiccups playing bars sometimes because I can't always play really sad songs. People want to like dance and move, so it does make it tough. But
Yeah, it
but
does.
my songs are definitely like personal therapeutic things that I've written.
We have a question that just came in from Kyle. Did your songwriting style change after experiencing such significant life events?
100%. Yeah, when after I got sober, I don't know that I've really even mentioned booze in any of my songs. And people have come up to me and said like, "Oh, it's kind of nice you're writing about something else." And I didn't think about it, but it's true. All those songs are from like a point in my life, and like, what would I write about booze now for? I don't even do anything with it. So like, yeah, my things now are more, I wouldn't say politically driven, but it's a little more about society than maybe so much like me. And I think that's where there's been a big shift in my songwriting. Like my next record, I have another one I'm doing, and it's basically a record, like a grief record that I wrote. All the songs I wrote while I was dealing with, my mom being sick. And then on top of that record, I have songs I'm working on that are more so like my anti-government songs and stuff like that. Which
The
I'm
ones
really
that are
like
gonna,
excited to
the
get
ones
to
that are
this.
gonna burn a little.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure people back in Litchfield, Illinois are gonna rant and rave about it.
But you know, that's how we make a difference, right? By getting
Totally.
that voice out there and getting that opinion. And that's why I said, like in the beginning of the disclaimer, is, you know, we all have different perspectives. Doesn't mean we can't get along with each other. You know,
Yeah.
we all bleed red. Like we're all human beings at the end of the day. So it doesn't matter. Like, but it seems that music does this, right? It makes this political argument sometimes, where people will be like, I'm not listening to that artist anymore because he mentioned this and he mentioned that, or she mentioned that. You know, it's kind
Yeah,
of
but they
like,
still listen to Elvis.
right?
You
Like
know,
the Dixie
his
Chicks.
wife
I'm
was
not
like
ready to be
13 years
nice. Like,
old.
yeah, like, you know, Elvis had a way of expressing himself too, and he was a naughty boy. He wasn't a good boy. So
No, but you know, that's the thing is like you can't pick and choose who's a piece of shit and who isn't. Like everybody's made poor choices. I mean, maybe not that bad, but like, you know, like just because you disagree with somebody on one front doesn't mean like to just cancel them entirely. But like it's gone so far now, you know, it's kind of a double standard, I guess is what I'm
yeah,
getting to. It's like I'm not gonna listen to Bob Dylan because he leans progressive and whatever. But I love the King of Rock and Roll. Like, where do you draw the line then? You know, how does
yeah.
that make sense?
Well, it's kind of like the new country and the old country, right? A lot of people are like, well, I don't like the new country because it's replacing the old country. No, it's not. It's just upgrading. It's like life. We're all upgrading. We're all changing. The society's changing. So we got to stay with the times, right? But that doesn't mean that we can't go back a little bit and bring some of that old style back into the
Yeah,
new
totally.
style.
Yeah.
So do you feel that the country twang is missing in today's world?
I don't know. I don't know that it's missing. I think it is. I This could be like a big rabbit hole. I might be getting us down, but
I like rabbit holes. I'm that
uh,
girl that likes to go in the holes all the time.
yeah, this is gonna be a deep one. I think a lot of music now, and I think it's been said a lot of times over. But my opinion on a lot of the music now is a lot of it's what I like to call grocery store music. It's
Oh,
mass produced to go to the grocery store, get your stuff, have something humming, a little melody that some like 15 dudes sat in a room and they were like, yeah, yeah, yeah. This we should get some 21-year-old kid to sing about it, even though he has zero life experience. But all these 50-year-old dudes are writing in a room in Nashville somewhere, wrote the song for him, and now it's like getting played at Albertsons while someone's drinking their wine and shopping for their groceries. That's what I think a lot of the modern country music is now. But on the flip side of that, there is this like underground scene, which is like what the outlaw country used to be.
yeah.
Now, all those people are like underground now, comparatively to like the mainstream artists. You know, like you got guys that I would compare to like Willie Nelson that are playing 150, 200 cap rooms. But like these pop stars, I mean, you got like Jelly Roll. Like, what even is that? And he's like selling out these stadiums. I don't even know what music that is, but everybody's like, "Oh my god, it's country," and I'm like, "Whatever." Like the guy's got, it's like, yeah, it's grocery store music. It doesn't need to be good. It just needs to please like someone's ear, and they can go about their day. It doesn't conflict with views. It's like very much no. It's a no strings attached choice of music.
Absolutely, you know, and I find that the genres are all mixing in together. So we're like losing the different genres. It's just like you're writing a book, right? We're losing all the different genres because we're slapping them all together,
Hmm.
you know, and that's kind of like what you're saying with the grocery store experience, right? We're slapping it all together and then we're calling it country or we're calling it rock or we're calling it R&B.
Yeah, slap a sticker on it.
we're losing the roots. That's what I feel.
Yeah,
We're losing the roots of the genres.
I agree. And I think it needs to go forward a little bit more before it can collapse. And everyone, like this blue dot fever everyone's talking about, I love it. I think it's the greatest thing that's happened to mainstream music because all these big artists, let's just keep using Jelly Roll.
Jelly Roll's gonna come at Miss Liz now.
He's the okay, well, he's perfect because it's like, you know, what's his fan base, his demographic, I'm sure like isn't like making isn't like super upper class. So yeah, I mean they're gonna buy one ticket maybe a year, and he's gonna sell his tickets for like what his cheapest tickets like $500. Like that's not sustainable. There's no way, especially with like the fan base he has. Maybe a $50 ticket would be sustainable. I mean, I feel like a lot of people could afford that multiple times a year. But this Blue Dot Fever thing is like, I don't know where you guys think like you're, I just don't like they're coming and making out like a bandit playing these stadiums. And now it's coming to like a head and they're like, oh, we can't do this. Like it was great while it lasted. And then they're all surprised because they're not selling any tickets. And I'm like, well, it shouldn't be a surprise.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
it's,
especially in today's economy, right? Like people can't even afford to go out anymore. Like
yeah, gas is like
we're
$5 a
deciding, do we
gallon.
pay our rent or do we put gas in our car? And here we have artists that are charging $300-400, five plus for
It's
one night
insane.
event, right?
Yeah. To see some fireworks, a mile away,
Absolutely.
sitting in
Well,
nosebleeds.
I always wondered about these big artists with their big ticket prices. You know, do they really care about the fans that are coming or do they think about the ticket price? And for all my listeners out there, I'd like to hear your feedback on this because we went to a concert a couple of years ago and cost us almost $1,000 for one night. That's like the price of our rent. Like,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
we have to make these choices. Do we want to have entertainment or do we want to survive? So, well, Adam, we have a question that just came in from Agree 87. How did your partner Christy react the first time she heard Darling?
She loved it. And I think I played it for her because we bartended at this bar together. That's how we met. And then I left when I got a job in the trades, but I still was playing music there every week. So I played the song for her while she was bartending, and everybody was like losing their minds, and she was really embarrassed in a good way, but it was just funny. She was all flustered and stuff, and yeah, it was really fun. And now we'll go back, or even before we moved here, she was working, and people would be like, play Christy's song, and so I'd play it while she was working, and it was just really fun. Yeah, she's loved it. She loves the song, and I think she loves how popular it's gotten too, which is funny.
So, Darling is named after Christy.
Yep, that's the song I wrote for her.
So, do you have any other songs for Christy on the album?
And not on that album. I do have some more that are going to be on a couple other the next record.
Does she know?
Yeah, I've played them for her a couple times. It's funny because she's my best critic, best and worst. Um, I was on the road for about 2.5 months, and I just got back, so I didn't really see her a whole lot. I was out in New York, and I wrote this song for her. And by the time I got back, about a month later, I had I had worked out the song. I worked out all the words. I spent like a month on this thing, and I get to see her, and she comes to one of my shows, and I played the song for her that I just wrote. And we get back that night, and she's like, I really like that song, but there's a couple things in there that I just want to like kind of tweak. I was like, you got to be kidding me! It's not changing. It's done now. It's finished. The song is done. You can tweak the next one, but she'll do that, and I love that she does. Even though sometimes it is kind of irritating, but she'll make me like she's like a proofreader, and she has good taste in music. We like a lot of the same music, and she'll say things like that, and like you should change this line in there, and then I do, and I'm always glad I did.
Well, Adam, let's talk about the tea you gave me. The first part of your tea was be everywhere and nowhere. What do you mean by that?
That's like a reference I like to tell people about, like the music industry, and you know, there's a large range of artists, between Uncle Terry in your hometown playing the local bar and like Taylor Swift. There's a lot in between. And I think a lot of artists, they get in their heads when they're not like getting maybe the recognition they deserve or something. And I think a lot of artists, I think a lot of them just either don't know how to put the work in or sometimes just don't put the work in. And my advice is, when someone asks me, like, you're on the road all the time or whatever, I'm like, you have to be everywhere all the time and be able to pack up and leave no matter what. And that's like basically have no home address and be able to be in New York City or Mexico in 2 days. And that's kind of like the best advice I can give for, honestly. I think I would live by that. Just as far as like getting what you want out of life.
Yeah.
you know I think getting sucked into a job sometimes takes that uh, imagination away, or that puts the fear in people of like, oh, I can't do that. And I'm like, you can. No one's telling you you can't do it. You can go anywhere you want right now. and
Well, it kind
I,
of takes away from the passion, right?
like,
Because
what's that?
like when you're always on the road and you're always everywhere but nowhere, it kind of takes the passion away as well.
100%. It does, but that's. I think that's a lot of the hardest part for a lot of people. I think is that playing music is the business side of it, where it's a very demanding industry, and there's a million people waiting in line if you say no. So, like, if you're not going to take that phone call and get on that plane to go wherever, somebody's going to go.
Right? If you don't go, somebody else will take that spot.
Easy, probably for a lot less money.
Yeah. Your second part of your tea was don't let the truth get in the way of of a good song. What do you mean by that?
That was told to me a long time ago. I don't remember where I heard it. Actually, it might have been Steve Poltz, um, which he's. If you guys don't know that are listening, you don't know who Steve Poltz is, check him out. He's a Canadian. You probably know who he is.
I've heard the name, but refresh my
He's a
mind.
Canadian songwriter. He used to write with Jewel, so he
Oh,
wrote that
yes.
song "You Were Meant for Me" with her, and that's like, I think that was something. I think he said that at some point, and I was like, I really like that. In it, I write a lot of songs that are pretty close to home. My family and I are very not really family. It's kind of weird, and I I think just telling the truth in a song is important, not only to like work something out mentally maybe, or something like that, but it's a good way to communicate with other people, uh and be exposed to more, because I know that there's things I went through in my life that I thought were completely normal until I got around a group of friends that were like, hey, that's not normal. And I think telling the truth allows other people to be like, oh, well, I know exactly what that guy's talking about. I didn't know that was bad for me. You know, I just think that's important for people to hear.
I'm really glad that the listeners are getting so many takeaways from tonight. This is what I like doing. I like picking my guests and getting them to spill their teas. And their teas are always different, and they always come with a reason behind their teas. And that's what makes us strong as individuals, is what we serve to the world. The last part of your tea is only you know what's best for you. What do you mean by that, Adam?
I just don't like people telling me what to do. Really,
You're the
it's
rebel.
not even it's not even an authority thing. Like, I'm not gonna like break the law just to break it, but like, uh, I just think, um, yeah, there's I grew up in a very conservative, simple family, and I worked really hard to like. I had to like retrain my brain as I got older to be like, yeah, that shit's not okay, and like, I'm not a Republican. I'm sorry, like stuff like that. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. I hate that you, maybe some people are in denial and like, no, no, surely I know I'm a very passable Republican, but I am not. And I think just people just projecting on you, I don't stand for it. I don't put up with it. I don't like people telling me what to do, giving me unsolicited advice. And in this job, there's not many people out there that really know what they're talking about, but there's a lot of people that love to think they know what they're talking about. Um, and that's one thing I've learned is just don't listen to everybody.
Yeah.
Take all the advice you can, but like pick and choose what's important.
Yeah, like
Educated,
right.
with it.
Get educated before you open your mouth. I tell my kids this all the time. There's a lot of talkers out there in the world, but there's not a lot of walkers. When you want them to walk what they talk, oh boy, they sit down pretty damn fast.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, or they go with the same old tricks, and it's like, all right, well, it's time to not talk to you again.
Yeah, right. Well, that was like the division, right? When the pandemic came, right? Is if you didn't go this way, you're no longer my friend, no longer my
Oh
family.
yeah,
Like, I don't know how many divorces. I think it was 75% divorce rate went up during the pandemic.
what a crazy time.
That tells you right there that there was issues before the pandemic came along. That's what that
Yeah.
tells you.
Yeah, that was part of the stimulus package was granting divorces.
Right? Oh my goodness. Yeah. Like that was a good time to write a good love song. Like
Yeah, or a really good heartbreak song.
there we go, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
That's actually I wrote Conversation Blues during COVID. And
oh,
when I told Steve that who you talked to get me on here, yeah, he's like, man, he's like, we're crossing the finish line with people's COVID songs, aren't we? And I said, yep, this is my last one. I like don't even want to think about COVID anymore. Like I wrote that song 6 years ago, and I'm like ready to get it out of the bag, put it out in the world. I'm done with it.
it was a time when everybody was writing, everybody was singing, everybody was doing a lot of crazy things, and then they all
Yeah,
went quiet. I say, you know what, bring COVID back because I found that there was a lot more unity during COVID. I know there
for
was a lot of
sure.
divorces that happened, but I mean, there was a lot of
Yeah,
connection. There was a lot of people that were making the effort to be in people's lives.
I was making good money in tips playing however I could too. I missed that. Well,
Right?
do what? Oh, Christy and I, about 3 months ago, we bought this property out here in southern Arizona. So we got like 9 acres out here in the middle of nowhere,
Oh,
and I
nice.
haven't I haven't felt kind of this alone really in a good way, kind of since COVID really, because I was living in St. Louis for so long, and in the city, and now that we're out here, it's just like, wow, I like not seeing my neighbors, being away. We're 10 minutes from town, whatever. So it just kind of reminds me of that, but like without all the bad stuff.
Yeah. Well, we have a question here from Russian. Do you have a favorite lyrics from Product of Another Sad Song that still means the most to you?
I think it's in the chorus where it's somebody carry me out of this chair, somebody carry me back up the stairs. um, I wrote that song that was the last song I wrote before I got sober, and I wrote that song at one of my favorite bars in St. Louis, and I was just sitting there, and I remember finishing it like I was like, I want to get blackout drunk, but I'm gonna finish this song before I do. And that was like that bridge or wherever the line is was like the last part of that song before I was like, and I was literally just thinking out loud at the bar, like, will somebody carry me out of this chair and back up the stairs because I live like a block away.
Wow. And those are deep lyrics.
Yeah, I I think sometimes I don't realize how emotional some of my stuff is until other people tell me it is, and I'm like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have put that out.
But that's what gets a good song out there, Adam, is those deep lyrics. You
Sure.
know, because that's what it was back in the 60s and 70s, was good storytelling, was good hard truth, right? Your dog
Hmm.
died, you got a divorce, your wife left you. Like, those were the songs that got people to listen over and over. And even to this day, there are people listening to those songs because they resonate. And those lyrics right there resonate with a lot of people out there that are struggling with addiction and fighting for their sorority. Adam, we're almost at the end here. I got a couple of lightning bolt questions for you. So just some quick answers, and then we're going to get a final word from you and where people can find all your good stuff. So the first one, guitar, piano, or harmonica?
Ooh, piano.
Oh,
Yeah.
best place to write a sad song.
Oh, at a bar.
He's going to say in the bathroom.
That could, there's a lot of places you can get that done. But bar is probably the best.
The honky tonk or quiet road?
Quiet road.
One word that defines sorority for you.
That's not corny, but maybe rebirth.
Oh, it's not corny. It's your story, Adam.
Yeah, I just think like you get to kind of start over again and do things differently.
What makes a song unforgettable?
I think having some really good walk downs or walk ups because
What
you
are
got something catchy in there.
catchy? So a
Yeah,
good beat.
it's when the band will go a boom 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 something like that. Which I'm a sucker for them. I gotta put them in any chance I can.
Adam, are you a dancer or a swinger?
I don't know. I'm gonna go with
I'm
dancer.
not talking that kind of swinging, guys. I'm talking like, are you like a country line dancer or a swinger? Like like waltz and
I
foxtrot
I would do probably dancing.
dancing.
Yeah.
And your favorite song to dance to with Christy?
Oh, with Christy, I think there's a song by Neil Young called "When I Hold You in My Arms." That's a really good one. A nice little waltzy tune.
I like how you went back to Neil Young. We started with Neil Young and you ended with Neil Young. I like that.
Yeah, I'm trying to start this myth or rumor that he's my uncle, so people might just start listening to my music more.
But you never know. We're all related somehow, right?
That is true.
We're all cousins. We're all brothers and sisters. So, Adam, what is your final message to my listeners tonight? And where can people find your music and all that good stuff?
You can find my music on the internet, just Spotify, Apple Music. Check out my link tree. All my stuff is really easy to get to from there. Um, and yeah, I have merch. I've kind of ran out of CDs on this last tour, but I'm gonna try and get some. I'm gonna make some extra money to get some vinyls and stuff like that for people because I like vinyl. Um, yeah, so I'll have more merch. You can find my merch all on the link tree also. And I guess I think my final message would be, I appreciate everyone listening to this record in the way that it's intended to. I was really worried putting it out because a lot of music today is like commercial stuff, and so it's nice that I can put something out that I feel is meaningful and people find that same message that I was intending with the album, which is like kind of a "you're not alone" kind of message. And I think it's important for people to. I think it's important that people connect, with experience, life experience, and no one's ever alone. If there's something that somebody's been through, somebody else has either been through it or been through something worse or whatever. And I think everybody can find common ground on that kind of stuff. Which brings me back to why can't we all just get along?
Right? You got to write that song. Why can't we all get along?
Yeah. I got a song I started called Everybody's Got a Problem with Everybody Now. That's the
Oh, well,
song.
now that's a
Yeah.
good song.
Yeah.
Well, Adam, thank you so much for joining me on Tea Time. Thank you to all the listeners and watchers and supporters. I could not do this without you guys. I always enjoy the comments and questions that come in. If you guys are looking to find out more about the guests that are coming up in July, that press release will be out in a couple of days. We have some incredible surprises there as well, again, in July. Thank you, Adam, so much for joining me tonight and sharing your album, sharing your work, and giving me permission to share your song as well. I'm just going to do a quick recap, and then I'll see everybody tomorrow. Yes, Miss Liz is here on Friday for 2 more shows. It is a full week this week. I have 7 shows this week. So what a powerful and heartfelt conversation today. Adam, thank you for bringing your authenticity, courage, and vulnerability to the Tea Time table. Your willingness to share both the struggles and the victories of your journey reminds us that healing is possible even after life's darkest seasons. Tonight, we explored recovery, resilience, music, mental health, loss, redemption, and the strength it takes to keep moving forward when the roads feel impossible. One of the strongest takeaways from tonight's conversation is this: your past may shape your story, but it does not have to define your future. Through your music and your book, Product of Another Sad Song, you demonstrate that pain can become purpose, mistake can become lessons, and adversity, and can become a source of strength when we choose not to give up. You reminded us that recovery is not about perfection, it is about process. It is about showing up one day at a time and believing that something better is possible. As we close tonight's tea time, I leave everyone with this thought: what if the chapters you're struggling through now is not the end of your story, but the beginning of a new one? Because sometimes the most beautiful songs are written after the hardest battles. Thank you, Adam, for sharing your truth, your music, and your journey with the Tea Time community. Until next time, keep telling your story, keep choosing hope, and keep serving real life tea, one conversation at a time. And tonight's takeaway is: your struggles do not disqualify you from living a meaningful life. They may become the very experience that helps you inspire, support, and uplift others. I'll see everybody tomorrow, and we'll do this all over again.